Okay. All righty. Hello, everyone. We're just starting a little bit early because in the past we've encountered some tech problems. So hopes and thoughts and prayers that that does not happen today. So we will just wait a few minutes to let everybody come in here. This is our first time, so please, patience and grace would be very much appreciated. Um, yeah, I hope everyone has been good with the fall spring that many of us have been tempted with and are keeping warm. I know my AC, has not figured it out yet, so I'm a little chilly here. Um, Here we go.
Yeah, it was 70 degrees in Atlanta yesterday. It's going to be 30 degrees overnight, so that's fun.
So just for context, folks, I really should mute my thing here. Okay, just for context, folks, I'm in Toronto, Canada, so I work with Celsius. So whenever my colleague here, Richard, spews out a bunch of American numbers, I have no idea what he's saying. So 30 degrees Celsius is quite warm, so I'm assuming he means it's cool.
I don't think I've ever been able to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, and maybe that's a indictment on the New York City public school system, but I have no clue how to do it.
Now, will I admit that I was actually raised and went to an American school system? No. No, I won't do that. Not at all. Okay, so it is 3 o'clock and I want to be respectful of time. So officially, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Disciples Church Extension Fund, or DCEF for short's very first Facebook Live event. The crowd goes wild. DCEF will be holding two more throughout the year, hopefully, so that you can get to know more about us. My name is Nadine Compton, and I'm the ministry's creative writer and digital media specialist. You'll be seeing me at each of these events, where I will be the host, joined by members of our Building and Capital Services advisor team.
Oh, and I am Reverend Richard Williams. I serve as the Senior Director of Services, which means that I lead that advisor team, that national advisor team, and I am also the advisor for Alabama, Northwest Florida, Virginia, the capital area, North and South Carolina, my home region of Georgia, and Florida.
What about Tennessee?
Oh, and Tennessee. Oh my gosh. And Kentucky. I'm so sorry, guys. I love you out there.
The
Forgive
best for
me.
last, the best for last. So either way, that is a lot of work, Richard.
Well, it is Nadine, a lot of work, but good work.
Okay, well, since you're used to work, I'm going to put you to work again today because I need you to help me provide an overview of DCEF services.
I can absolutely do that. The first things that I want everybody to know about DCEF is that number one, we exist to help communities of faith, whether they are congregations, whether they are regions, seminaries, camps, no matter what, in discipledom, we exist to serve you all, and we've been doing it for over 142 years. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is we're more than just a lender. Everywhere we go, people think that DCEF is just a lender. And they think about debt, they say debt is bad, and they sort of just kind of tune us out sometimes. But we ha offer so much more than that. We offer building planning, ministry planning, financing, and other sort of resources that can be able to help you. And we're going to talk a lot about them today.
Okay, so I heard you mention building planning. Could you please go into detail about the kind of planning services that we offer?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so let's start with one of my favorites, which is a building evaluation service. Uh, Congregations around the country, whether they're large steeple churches or they're multi-purpose buildings, they always have a question of how best can their building serve their ministry, right? So a DCEF building service is really interesting. It utilizes like the current building conditions and the usage. It gathers sort of critical equipment and systems understandings, and it sort of helps you to understand what is possible with your building. Our resident building evaluator, Jim Michael, has been really wonderful about not only assessing what's there, but also working and dreaming with congregations, assessing what could be there. And on top of that, we offer really cool nuggets like building cost analysis, right? So anything that needs to be broken, Jim will give you an idea of how much it costs to fix it. And he also gives a deferred maintenance schedule. So he gives you from immediate to 10 years down the line what projects need to be fixed. And then you combine that with that cost analysis, and you have an idea of creating a building strategy and how much it's going to cost to make sure that your building is what it needs to be, right? And then we have our building planning and relocation services. Sometimes when congregations get to a point where they're just maybe landlocked, or the building doesn't fit the ministry, or the community doesn't fit the ministry, relocation is an option. And what we do is we work with congregations to say, okay, if this is not the place for you, number one, who are you? What's your ministry capacity? What are you trying to do? And then through a demographic analysis study and work with our real estate partners, we try to find you a location that is suitable for your ministry. And with building planning, we offer an architectural consultation, which allows you to really have a conversation with an architect about an understanding of what needs can be done in the current building, right? Let's say you have some space that needs to be open, or you're running into a place where you don't have enough education space, or you need a space for a commercial kitchen or anything like that. When you want to sort of take your current building space and just renovate it for relevant ministry. We have that architectural consultation where you can walk with an architect to be able to discern what's next for your building. So that's really awesome. And the last thing under our building services is our disaster response. This we are finding is one of our most critically used services, because as congregations all across the country deal with harsh weather, there's a lot of damage to buildings. Whether that's tornado damage that we've heard from First Christian Mayfield years ago, to hail damage, leaky burst pipes. I mean, any sort of disaster that happens from Mother Nature, we have a service that can help you with that. And from my work in construction, I know that when you make an insurance claim, insurance adjusters want to give you pennies on the dollar. They don't want to give you the full scale amount of what you do, and what you need to be able to sort of get that job done and get your building back to where it needs to be. So our disaster response coordinator, who's also Jim Michael, works in conjunction with Week of Compassion, helps you file those claims, helps you fight for the most money for your building needs, get you all that top dollar for that insurance adjustment. And again, also works with you on what the next step is, right? Because we've had in St. Louis, right? Centennial Christian Church, Union Avenue Christian Church, both experienced disasters recently. So Jim is not only working with them on their insurance claims, but also dreaming with them about the next iteration of their building. So we have a lot of building services. So if you go into your building every Sunday and you're saying, oh, sometimes our building isn't really fit for ministry, you can come to DCEF, and DCEF can walk with you through any sort of understanding of what you want your building to be.
Yeah, yeah. I
That was a
also want
lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. So you're at the end of today's call, you're gonna have to like have some soothing tea or something to help you. For sure, for sure. And we've only, 7 minutes in. So I also want to point out that we also offer consulting service called New Beginnings, which helps faith communities, whether you're a congregation, a camp, region, seminary, find clarity and embrace a new vision for their ministry. So it's a very hands-on process. It assesses ministry, resources, needs, and it really clarifies your context, explores options so that you can make an informed decision about your faith community's future story. But all of this starts with an initial consultation, which is the first step in the planning process. So, Richard, can you walk us through what an initial consultation looks like?
Sure. The initial consultation provides an opportunity for leadership to share their hopes and dreams for their ministry and those initial ideas behind their property and their facility needs, right? So initial consultations are just the first step to having conversation with me. A lot of times churches are kind of having conversation amongst themselves about what the future of their ministry looks like. But sometimes they need to work with somebody with some experience and some know-how, right? So from that initial consultation, a DCEF advisor helps them identify the financial capacity and their ability for borrowing, for financing, and a basic time frame for completing projects. So anything that a congregation will need to say, this is point A of our ministry, we want to get to point B. Our job in that initial consultation is to flesh out where point A is and then match the DCEF services to get them to imagine, reimagine, and find out and get to point B ultimately.
Yeah. So when is the best time to schedule a consultation?
Well, I would say consultations are most helpful when they're scheduled as soon as the faith community, like that official board, the moderated team, or the committee decides that a building project is needed or something new needs to be done. Too often, congregations will come to us maybe when it's too late. Maybe they're a little further in the process, and maybe they've hit some landmines, and now they want us to come in. But the best time to get us is when they are immediately thinking about what they want to do. So to schedule initial consultations with us, I would say the board usually takes formal action amongst themselves to be able to say, hey, let's bring church extension in to have a conversation. And then from that, whether it's through an advisor giving an initial consultation request form or it's online at disciplecef.org, you can come and schedule and ask for that initial consultation with one of the advisors. And if you're in the Southeast, you'll probably get me.
If you're lucky. Um, so, who should attend the meeting or meetings with the DCEF advisor?
Oh, I would say representative leaders of the faith community, the pastor or pastors, board chair, moderator, relevant team leaders, and those responsible for those resources and ministries related to the project. The advisor is able to advise faith communities on what representatives are needed to be there. But the goal is you want to have continuity, you want to have your entire leadership team there, and you want to have people who are for going forward and against going forward, because you want to be able to have in that consultation space for everybody to talk, everybody to share their dreams, their hopes, their fears. And it's the advisor's job to sort of walk with them through any sort of trepidation they have, but also to temper some of those grandiose dreams that may not be possible just yet.
Just yet. Yes, good addendum. Do faith do faith communities have to have a ministry plan in place before they can contact DCEF?
Well, yes. The hope is that some of that vision work is done, right? The faith communities have a plan. They've been talking with one another, wanting to go to a certain place. But if they do not have that plan, they just know that something needs to be done and they don't know where to start. The beauty of that initial consultation is that they can come to a DCEF advisor and we can have conversations about the church's vision, building capacity, building plans, and they can just reach out to us today. The beauty is they can go again to disciplescef.org and contact us. And again, if you're in the Southeast, you'll get me.
Okay, so let's say that a faith community does an initial consultation with DCEF and their regional advisor provides them with a list of recommendations. What happens if they can't afford to update their sanctuary or relocate their
Hmm.
congregation, for example?
Oh, whew. Well, the beauty is, I think every consultation and every relationship with Church Extension is built on covenant, right? So that means that let's say you can't afford something right now, it doesn't mean that the relationship stops. The beauty is that we continue to have relationship, and there are multiple ways and multiple DCEF services that allow congregations that can't afford something right away to be able to get to that point, right? So the first thing I would say is what we do is we'll look at the financing, right? We'll look at creative loan structures, right? Let's say a church has net income, but it's really small, and there is a huge amount of the budget that is set aside for relevant ministry. What we do not want to do at Church Extension is take all your money. So it stops you from relevant ministry. You may have to, downsize your staff. We don't want to do that. But we can create loan structures that make feasibility happen for congregations. So they can come up with a sweet spot in terms of what they can pay, and we can create a loan structure that allows that congregation to get their needs met and still have relevant ministry. I would say there's also one of my favorite things, which is fundraising. I think that, and I said this before, and I'll say this again, and I think I'll die on this hill. Every church should have a capital campaign, especially every church post-COVID should have one.
Mm,
And I say that because there have never been more eyes on your church than there are right now, especially if you are broadcasting on Facebook or YouTube. That means you're probably being seen from all around the country, all around the world. You have people who probably moved away, who are still sort of in touch with the church and now get to view the church. So this is the perfect opportunity to gather your community, not only inside the walls, but outside of the walls, to be able to unite around a theme and a vision and put some financial resources towards the next great move of ministry. So I think fundraising, capital campaigns are a great way to get to a point where you can afford to get from point A to point B. Now, again, if you can't get there with fundraising alone, then you could add a loan, you could add financing to that fundraising and be able to sort of hit that magic number, that sweet spot together. So capital campaigns are really a great way. Loan structures are a great way of getting things done. And I would say the third way is not only combining the financing and the fundraising, but understanding how to phase out a project. Oftentimes, congregations think that they should do all of their things in one. And that can be difficult because all things in one are costly, which means you may have to take out a loan that costs too much, or you try to raise too much at a capital campaign and you don't meet your goal. So building projects especially can be phased out, right? So phase one may be this, and we may be able to finance and fundraise. And then after phase one gets complete, then we can do phase two. So it doesn't overwhelm the congregation and it allows, once again, for a successful campaign and to make sure that cash flow continues to stay within the church for relevant ministry to continue.
yeah. So if folks are following along with us here and hearing beeps and boops, that's because we have questions coming in. And don't worry, we will get to them, but we want to make sure we cover everything first, just in case we might just happen to answer your questions. Okay?
Ah,
So beeps and boops are a good sign. So Richard, what loan interest rate does DCEF charge?
oh wow. We that rate is negotiable and it changes and it varies based on a lot of factors. But we have what we call the cost of funds, and our cost of funds allows us to continue to operate to offer a lot of things at no cost, like our consultations, like our disaster response, and also keep the ministry moving. So it really depends, and we can guide you through a lot of our unique sort of loan structures because there are ways to be able to get that interest rate down. People are they understand, and rightfully so. We're in a high interest rate environment, and again, that means a lot of debt, and that brings anxiety to people.
Yeah.
Given the project and given some of DCEF's unique policies and loan structures, we can find a way to get you to a sweet spot.
Okay. So are there any interest-free loans that we offer?
See now, Nadine, you're giving away the secret sauce.
I'm
Now
trying
that
to,
people hear this, they're gonna go, "Oh, hey, what about this?"
yeah,
So yes, we do offer interest-free loans to ministries in special and specific situations. Those include emergency situations such as natural disasters, emerging faith communities. We want to be faithful. Again, shout out to New Church Ministry that is a part of DCEF. So we want to make sure that new ministries take advantage of some some money that's loosened up for their operations. Existing racial, ethnic, faith communities. We want to be very clear with this, right? So, diverse groupings of ministries that have shown a commitment to diversity and a commitment to sort of doing community work together in a special way, and also sort of letting their church body understand the beauty of diversity through multiple voices and multiple understandings of backgrounds and demographics. We have interest-free loans to be able to help those kind of congregations, and intentionally integrated faith communities. That goes beyond the clergy to the entire church, right? Because a lot of our churches are now working together in really creative spaces where they're really in conversation with one another, trying to hear different perspectives, which is really difficult sometimes. But those congregations that want to do something really new and radical and special, we want to be able to help them. So interest-free loans are available for them also.
Yeah. Of course, there's a truck backing up right now behind my house. Perfect
Ding,
timing. Thank
ding.
you. Yeah, beep, beep. It's a different beep, a different boop. I will say
Sorry,
if
Canada.
yeah. If you do see I see there's comments online that's super great. Saying hi to Reverend Dr. Jose Martinez, who is our Minister of New Church Strategies. And if you see a woman named Anisha monitoring the comments, that's one of our colleagues. She just said she didn't hear that beep or boop, which is great. Thank you so much, Anisha. So yes, if you see her, she will respond to your comment and let us know that we're going to get to your question at the end. And she's making sure she's noting all of them. So don't worry. Okay, back to you, Richard. Are there
That's
any?
colleagues.
Yes, I know we work together so well. Um, are there any other kinds of loans that we offer?
Yes. Wow. Lots of them. We offer repurpose loans to faith communities that are partnering with other local organizations to do something really special. We see that a lot on the development side, where there's sort of joint ventures between the church, which operates as a nonprofit, and maybe a for-profit developer. We offer repurpose loans for that. Any other kind of loan we would call a special project loan, which really encompasses architectural designs and furnishings and equipment, things like that. We have leasehold improvement loans. This is really special because every congregation does not own their building, right? So, but they still have things that they want to do. You have a long-term lease and you have a lot of upkeep that you want to do. And usually, our loans involve collateralizing the property, right? But when you don't have collateral for the property, oftentimes you would probably be turned away from a loan from a local lender. But we honor the fact that congregations are renting right now and want to sort of beautify their space. So we do leasehold improvement loans to be able to do that work. And also for those specialty loans that I like a lot of our congregations know, we offer accessibility loans for congregations that want to be ADA compliant. What I love about the Disciples Church is that we want to be radically inclusive, and that includes our space, right?
Yeah,
So we want everybody to come in and feel that they are loved and welcomed in that space. So we offer accessibility loans for congregations that need to help their buildings become more ADA compliant, and we offer green loans. When we talk about reducing our carbon footprint, congregations that are thinking about solar, congregations thinking about high efficiency HVAC systems, roofs with sort of a high efficiency equipment on them, windows,
yeah,
everything that sort of reduces that carbon footprint. We offer green loans are at a subprime interest rate. So they're really, really good and they are really, really helpful for congregations who are looking to save money overall.
yeah. And I think that's a really good thing to note right now as we're transitioning seasons from winter to spring. You're going to need different things in your facilities, right, to go from heating to cooling. And oftentimes those transitions can be tricky. So if you are thinking about that, you should always be thinking a season or two ahead. Don't be hesitant to get in touch with your regional building and capital services provider, sorry, advisor. So, Richard, how long does the loan process take?
Oh gosh, it depends on the project. I would say an average is maybe a 30 to 45 day turnaround from the time we receive all the application documents. That's sort of our underwriting and committee approval process time.
Okay, so what if a faith community comes to us with an existing loan from another loan provider?
Well, we shame them, Nadine. That's what we do. Um,
No, we don't.
No, we do not shame them. DCEF offers refinancing options. In addition to sort of those loan maintenance and closing costs, we can include, the title work, the refinancing, the recording fees. All of those can be rolled into the loan. A lot of times when you refinance, you have high closing costs, and normally you have to come out of pocket for those costs. But no, we allow those costs to be rolled into the loan so that congregations don't have to break the bank to be able to close that loan. And sometimes we even help with legal fees, right? Better yet, if a faith community's loan stays with us, we make sure that it won't be sold, right? Because a lot of churches now are dealing with the fact that loans from outside lenders come in 5-year increments, 5-year terms, what they call balloon loans, right? And based on a local lender's portfolio, when those 5-year maturities hit, some of those some of those banks are like, yeah, we don't really want this on our portfolio. So now congregations are kind of stuck looking for someone to assume their mortgage. So we don't treat our congregations, our seminaries, our organizations like local lenders. We don't have those balloon loans. We offer the same term and same amortization, and we never drop you because of our portfolio.
Hmm. Okay, so why should a faith community choose DCEF over other financial institutions?
Well, I may be biased, but what I will say is banks are looking to make money. We're looking to partner in ministry. And I think what that means is you're more than just a number to us. You're more than just an interest payment to us. You are our partner. And when you come to us and you say, we want to use this space or we want to use these funds to do relevant ministry, it's our job to support you in that. And we go above and beyond where local lenders won't. I just named one way. We also adjust loans in very special and unique situations. Maybe that's a one-time payment adjustment. Like a couple of months ago, there was a lot of bad weather in the wintertime, and congregations went to fully online, which meant that giving probably went down. So sometimes congregations can't pay on the first of the month. They'll call and say, "Hey, can we move this payment to the 20th?" And we do that with no problem. When you have a rapid shift, congregations have a rapid shift in their finances. A lot of times, they'll say, "We need a 6-month adjustment," right? Sometimes some of our biggest givers pass away, or we have unexpected emergencies, and we need to lower these payments for a 6 months, maybe a year. We offer that as well in specific situations. And on top of that, people know you. People know you, they care about you. The relationship is built, and we offer a myriad of services like we've talked about already to go alongside of those loan products to be able to help your congregation stand for the next generation of ministry. So that's a lot of ways that we are much better than a local lender. And I hope that everyone hears this part. If we could clip any part of this conversation, let's clip that part. We are nicer than your local lender. Please love us as much as we love you.
Yeah, that's our new slogan for sure. I will say that the
Copyright.
Building and Capital Services Advisors, they are there at your regional assembly. They are there at General Assembly. They are there at National Convocations Biennial Session. They are there at Black Ministers Retreat. They are there, like, I don't know if you're going to see that local guy at the bank at all these things, you know. Regional Assembly years, General Assembly years, they do, goodwill visits. So, that's why we said earlier that it's a lot of work and they do a lot of work because they do that for you. And I'm not biased either. So, so Richard, what else does DCEF do besides offering building planning services and CFC guidance, which is capital fundraising campaign guidance, as well as making loans?
Think one thing that a lot of congregations and individuals don't understand is that we offer short-term investments also. Now, our partner, Christian Church Foundation, offers long-term endowment vehicles. We offer more short-term vehicles. The demand notes and we have term notes as well. And those investments really fund our loans. So when people invest with us to get a particular rate of return, whether it's they want their funds accessible whenever, those are our demand notes, or whether they want them in terms, and we have any term from 12 months to 60 months, which is a year to 5 years. When you invest with us, you help us fund loans through that ministry. So it's really, really important that congregations understand long-term sort of endowment funds. Absolutely. Our partners at CCF are wonderful with that. But if you're talking about short-term, if you're talking about things like wanting to grow your building fund, wanting to grow your savings account, even your individual savings accounts, right? Rather than getting 0.001% at your savings bank, you can come to us. You can get a better rate, a rate that is conducive for us to be able to fulfill viable ministry and a place for your income and your money to grow as well.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks for all of this thorough information, Richard. But I think we do have some questions from our participants here. So we're going to go through them now. Question one is, we're trying to find ways to monetize our equity in the property. One thought is to purchase a property that can be used as housing for a future pastor, but we're not sure how to go about doing that.
Okay, that's a great question. Um, Yes, you can leverage your equity to be able to buy individual properties. Now, parsonages are making a comeback. They have not been sort of famous for the last couple of years, but when you think about how to offset ministry income for your senior minister, offering housing is a really great way to do it. So yes, you can have a conversation about refinancing your current property and using some of those funds as probably a down payment for a parsonage to be able to provide that housing. The one thing I will say is it's very, very important when you purchase a parsonage that you understand that it needs to be used for the pastor only. If it is not used for the pastor, you run into what we call UBIT, which is unrealized business income tax. When you are financing a property, you cannot make money off of the rent of a parsonage without paying tax on that money that you make. So you have to be really careful when you have parsonages. You want to make sure that they're strictly for the pastor or some church employee.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So just a reminder to other folks, if you're watching us on Facebook, make sure you make a comment underneath the video itself. We do have someone monitoring the comments. So another question, Richard, is how would you help a congregation that has a lot of deferred maintenance?
Oh, wow. I think it depends on how immediate the maintenance is. And I think our building evaluation is really key for that. So what we want to do is be able to figure out what's a short-term fix, what's a long-term fix. And then once we can figure out what that is, we can figure out an approximate cost of all of that work. And then we would go through your finances and figure out together what can you address now with your present funds, right? And what can be addressed later. The beauty is a capital campaign is really a great way to address short-term to mid-term repairs. Because what we know from our research is 60% of capital campaign pledges come in the first year. So if you have an immediate need where you're saying to yourself, okay, we're coming towards the end of using heat and we're going to use heat in a year, a capital campaign and being able to get ahead of those pledges is a great way to be able to address that sort of short-term issue. But I would say overall, it's important to get a list of what your deferred maintenance needs are, figure out how immediate they are, and create a funding and financing strategy around getting that work done.
Okay. Another question is, what if our building doesn't fit our ministry?
Oh, then I would say the first question is, what is your ministry, right? And why doesn't it fit? If it's a matter of maybe the community has changed, and I can say for certain, I was a pastor of a church in a neighborhood that was turning over, and we had a lot of ideas of what to do, and it just didn't work, and maybe the idea was to be able to move. I think it's important to have hard conversations, but most importantly, it's important for everyone in the ministry to understand that we have a mission, the church has a mission, the minister has a vision, and hopefully, prayerfully, those are aligned. And then you ask yourself, is this the location for that? And so it begins with conversations so that everybody's on board, knowing who we want to be and where we want to go. And if this is not the location, how do we have conversation about moving to the next place? Whether that is selling our building and moving to a new place, whether that's renting our building and worshiping and sort of having a temporary sort of worship space set up where you can really dive into the neighborhood and understand and learn and see if where that place is where you're hoping to go is the place where your ministry needs to go. But we have a tool with Mission Insight where we give demographic analysis also. When you're talking about who your ministry is for, right? I mean, maybe you have a demographic in mind. Maybe you have all of these sort of factors. We can pair you and try to find locations in your neighborhood that fit where you want to be and the demographics around it.
Sorry, Richard. I was just getting one of the extra questions that came in from Anisha here. She's been so helpful. So one of the other questions is we want to make we want to make our church more accessible, but the cost of an elevator seems astronomical for the size of our congregation. Could we get advice on things like that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes, for buildings that do not have elevators in them already, that were built and not even have space for them, yes, that is a difficult um, project that costs probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some congregations use some alternatives, right? So some congregations use the dumbwaiter approach. Some have that beautiful sort of a chair that assists, that sort of moves you up to the next floor. But what I would say is, if your vision for ministry is to be inclusive, to be radically welcoming, then I think if that's part of the identity of the church and the desire of the church to move forward, then conversations need to be had um, for the long term, right? Short term, you can do some of these sort of fixes, that mobile chair, but long term, the congregation needs to have a discussion about whether um, we take on debt to make sure that our building is radically inclusive. Um, and I'm going to use a phrase that some of my friends use, right? There's a difference between bad debt and good debt. Bad debt is sort of cosmetic things, sort of things that maybe don't necessarily fit your ministry, things that are not going to sort of change the numbers or the mission or the morale of your church. But sometimes it's necessary to take on some good debt with a partner that'll help you make sure that that good debt is not a burden so that your ministry can be all that it needs to be and the people can see who we are as a ministry. Because sometimes our identity is wrapped up in some of these projects. And then to be able to say, listen, this is who we are. We're going to step out on faith to be able to do this work. It's great to be able to have a partner like us that will ensure that you can do that work without hurting you financially.
Yeah. And one point I do want to make about accessibility, that is not something that only applies to a select few of churches or whatever. At one point in your life, you will need things that will improve and support your mobility
Yes.
because we all age. Every single one of us is going to have to need to use a walker or a wheelchair or something as we age because we're not going to be staying fit and firm forever, you know? So this is something, if you're thinking about the long term of your church and the life cycle of your church, every church needs to be thinking about accessibility if they plan to serve everybody, which hopefully they do. Okay, so our next question is, We want to sell our church in the downtown area and build a new church with a new name in a growing area of our town. Land is being donated as well as some funds, but not enough to build the new church. How can DCEF help?
Wow. There are a lot of ways. I think first on the sales side, we can help you all determine the true value of your property. A lot of times when you are selling a property, there's some developer or somebody who wants that property who will tell you that we'll pay you this. And if you have no idea what your property is worth, you should not sell your property at all. So we partner with an appraisal company that does that work. We also partner with a national real estate firm called Foundry Commercial that also helps us if we need to find a better broker for that property, right? Um, on the other side is if you are having land donated, that's a great cost that's alleviated. But sometimes there are gaps in financing, and gaps in financing are when you can come to DCEF and we can offer you financing and also a campaign. I would say this is a perfect opportunity to do both because a financing offsets the amount of debt service that you have to care for. So what I would say is, depending on the urgency of moving, I would suggest a fundraising effort to be able to close that gap as much as possible. Hopefully, the market will be able to give you the maximum return for your sale price. And between what you bring from the sale and what you have raised, if there's still a gap, we can help you with that sort of gap financing. But it's crucial to be able to assess your true building's valuation before you sell it.
Okay. Next question is, how can we create additional streams of income?
Oh, the magic question. This is my heart. Um, Congregations, I believe, are going to have to be more entrepreneurial. If anything has taught us from COVID, is tithes and offerings alone will not save most ministries. So the first asset is the building. Can you find community partners in your building? I know a lot of congregations that have huge educational wings that are not being used at all Monday through Saturday. And they're perfect for partnering with outside organizations, daycares, after school centers, sports programs. There are so many uses for the building that can bring in additional income. So I would say, one, think about your building. I would say on the second side, uh, why not be creative? I think there are a lot of congregations doing some really creative things when congregations asset map and figure out all the strengths and the resources they have, you can find your way to something special. For example, I know a congregation that has a food truck. There were a lot of women who usually cook, between services, and they were retired, and the church needed some extra revenue, and they said, "Hey, well, people love our cooking, so let's go out there." So there's a food truck in the South in one of our congregations of some wonderful ladies who park near construction sites and other sort of venues for the lunch rush, and they make a pretty considerable amount of money from that work. So that's wonderful. I would also say grants are a huge thing. Because our churches are faith-based 501(c)(3)s, we're very limited in our grant capacity. But what a lot of churches are doing are launching non-faith-based 501(c)(3)s. And they can open you up to a world of grant income, right? So if you're talking about doing the same ministry that you're doing on the faith-based side, whether you're caring for kids or the unhoused or any other sort of oppressed, marginalized community. Whereas some churches are doing that out of the operating or the outreach income, there are grants. If you set up a non-faith-based 501(c)(3), apply for those grants, you can use those funds towards relevant ministry. And again, since you are the nonprofit is housed in your building, some of that money can offset some of your costs, like your building maintenance costs, your utilities. And also on the faith-based side, you're saving outreach money also, and that money goes back in. So between all of those factors, you can have some extra revenue to carry out relevant ministry.
Okay. So this one is a common question. How can a faith community justify hiring a consultant when it is trying to raise money?
Ah, uh, I call that the cost benefit analysis. Um, if you ever been to a congregation who tried to launch a fundraising effort, oftentimes they don't have the resources, the knowledge, the patience, and the ability to help frame a vision, help you sort of with your social media strategy, help you with team building. So when congregations go at it on their own, what we have seen across a lot of fundraising sites is that you raise pennies on the dollar for what you could do with a seasoned, low cost financing organization. And there are a big for-profit fundraising entities out there. I can name a couple right off the top of my head, but they will charge you a pretty penny. DCEF's rates are very, very competitive, much more competitive than those for-profits, if I do say so myself. But what I also say is you're paying not only for expertise, you're not only paying for resources, but I think you are paying for somebody who can love you and walk you through the next move of your ministry. And that's what we use capital campaigns are. They're not pledge drives, they are intentional team building spiritual exercises. If you go on our website, you can see a lot of wonderful stories of the campaigns we've done in the last couple of months. Stories written by the wonderful Nadine Compton, by the way. And they are, and each of those churches will testify that they were skeptical in the beginning of the process, but after they had a campaign the DCEF way, not only were they able to shatter their pledge goal, but they were able to build momentum, they were able to identify and develop leaders, and they were able to now take this pivot moment and sort of use it as a catalyst to do new things, not only inside the walls, but outside the walls as well. So yes, it sounds like why am I paying for this? But if you knew the process and if you read those stories, you will see that there's a method to the madness, and it really comes out for the church's benefit on the better side compared to doing it on your own.
Thanks for the shout out, Richard. That was not scripted, by the way. So the next question is, it's a three-parter. Can you say more about how a congregation can go about setting up a separate 501(c)(3)? Two, especially the legal process for doing this. Most church leaders don't know how to do this. Three, where can they find information, resources, support? So I can repeat that again if you need me to.
Okay, question one. Hit me
Eh,
with question one.
Okay, question one was, can you say more about how a congregation can go about setting up a separate 501(c)(3)?
Okay, yes. So when congregations, well, let me back up. My first foray into church work was through affordable housing real estate community development. And if you notice, or if you have any sort of relationship with anyone, any church in that arena, you'll find out that when the church goes to sort of get financing, whether through the county or the state or feds, usually they have trouble with that financing. So what they do is create a separate entity, and that separate entity is a non-faith-based 501(c)(3), and that can be created online. It can be created with the help of a lawyer. We do not have those legal resources for that, unfortunately. But congregations really, if they have somebody with legal savvy on staff, they can help you do that. or you can do it online. Um, but yes, it's under the umbrella of the congregation, right? But it's a separate entity, which means that it is not subject to the same sort of legal ramifications, and it's also in a place where it does pay taxes, whereas your faith-based one will not pay taxes. So you don't set this up unless you are trying to gain revenue, knowing that you're going to pay taxes for it. So that's very, very important to understand.
Okay, thank you. So the second part was, can you say more about the legal process for doing this? I don't know if there's more you can add because we're not lawyers.
Um, Well, so again, I mean, it's sort of standard in terms of how you create the charter, the articles of incorporation, right? You can say that it has a relationship. You can name it the same entity, right? But just it's not the same entity, right? So, like, if I had let's say Richard Christian Church, it could be Richard Community Development Corporation, something like that, to show that there is some sort of symmetry, but again, they're two separate entities. But a legal con like a lawyer, a legal consultant can really help you understand that a little bit more.
Okay, so that last part was where can we find information, resources, support?
I would say the best way is to hire an attorney to be able to do that work. We offer sort of just an understanding of walking through the process. If you had conversation with me, I can sort of outline how we did it. But that's a whole Zoom screen sharing thing. But yes, I can. If somebody wants to talk more about it, they can send me an email and I can point them in the right direction.
Yeah, and if you go onto our website and go into our About page and scroll down a little bit, meet our team, you click on that, a new window will pop or a new tab will pop up and you'll see a map. And then you can kind of click on wherever you are in the US or Canada, and underneath will show you where the advisor is. But you don't have to click on the map. You can also just scroll down and see Richard's contact information, my contact information, all the contact information for our staff. So another question here is, when should a faith community consider a capital campaign?
Anytime. Short answer. I think anytime. Whether I'm trying to be very delicate with this because people think that you have to be in debt or you have to have financial hardship to justify a capital campaign or you have to have a building that's falling apart to have one. No. Congregations, the most forward-thinking, savvy congregations of generations ago have huge endowment resources, right? So when you talk about an additional stream of revenue, it's a blessing to be able to get a annual deduction from Christian Church Foundation, right? Because that's money that you are not spending. It's money that's coming to you. So it's an extra stream of revenue technically. So congregations, they think that they have to have a project or they think they have to have building issues to be able to have one. But I would say there's always a great time to have a capital campaign because even if you are not financially strapped, you can use the finances that you have fundraised for to be able to either save that money for endowments or to be able to use that money even if you don't have a dream right now. Um, Sometimes people think that you have to put the cart before the horse. For me, I'm going to ride the horse and I'm going to hold the cart and hope that the cart comes with me because we have seen now, and if we're having an honest conversation, it's the congregations that planned generations ago that are the congregations that are still standing now, even if they have a decline in membership, even if they have significant deferred maintenance. It was those forward-thinking steps that allowed them to not only survive but find their way to even thriving.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to the previous question. One of the folks who's watching live said, Are you talking about an additional 501(c)(3) than the one a congregation may already have? I, I, I think the answer is yes, but I wanted to just clarify with you.
No, it is yes. So Um, disciples are under sort of whether they're under the general church charter or the regional church charter, depends on how they were formed. That's a faith-based 501(c)(3. That one is recognized by all the IRS and all other entities, right? So when you go for grants, it will tell you, right, whether faith-based 501(c)(3s can apply or they can't apply. So if you have so the one you have under the Disciples Charter is a faith-based one. A non-faith-based one is the one you need to be able to open up those other non-faith-based grant opportunities for ministry.
And for any Canadian congregations watching, obviously IRS rules don't apply to us. We follow whatever the CRA says. So sorry that we can't tailor the conversation to that.
Yes.
So yeah, another one of the questions is, um, what should a faith community consider when launching a capital campaign?
Oh, I think they should consider where the congregation wants to go. I think we frame congregate capital campaigns as we are funding the next great move of your ministry. Well, what's that move? Um, there are huge visions, there are missions, there are people who are daydreaming, there are people who really want to do great things, right? But the beauty is there's never a better opportunity to get a whole bunch of people together in a group to be able to be on one accord to do something really special. So I would say you have to have a vision for the future, right? And that vision will take personal resources and it'll take financial resources. So my advice for my congregations is have a conversation, meet together, have discussions. Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? What is our building like? Can our building house relevant ministry? What's our community? What's out there, right? And take all of these understandings and then together create a path forward. And when you have that path forward where you know you want to go, where you know God is leading you, then it's important to come in and say, well, how can we finance this vision going forward?
Okay, so just keeping a note of the time, we're almost coming up to the hour, so if you do have any questions, uh, don't feel hesitant to just add them as a comment underneath the video on Facebook. Um, so I think we're going to tackle a few more. So what types of projects do capital campaigns typically fund?
They fund anything from we have done some really cool things, and I guess now we can be specific. We worked with First Christian Church Bowling Green on a capital campaign that changed their fellowship hall into a place that has an opportunity for people who are in need of food to come in and actually shop. Most congregations just put everything in the bag and give it to you. But no, First Christian Bowling Green was really amazing in saying that we want everyone who comes in need to feel dignified. So they have shopping carts and they have food on the shelves to be able to do that work. We help them with that capital campaign. We have Jefferson Town Christian Church fix their elevator and address other deferred maintenance in their capital campaign. First Christian Church Louisville needed a new roof, so we helped fundraise for that new roof. There are congregations that we have helped with securing funds for their new building, right? So they were a congregation that was leasing their space, and through that capital campaign, they saved enough money, and then at the end of that campaign, they were able to put money down on their first property. So we do capital campaigns for everything, and I think my favorite campaigns are campaigns where congregations want to do something cutting edge for the community, to introduce themselves into the community in really cool and unique ways. And they just don't want to use the funds that they bring in for the tithes and offerings because they're already using it towards outreach. So their capital campaigns can be used for everything.
Okay, so last question. How long does the capital campaign take?
Oh wow. A capital campaign process, it takes about 4 weeks of planning, and capital campaign launches over 4 Sundays. So it's 4 Sundays of that capital campaign with 4 weeks of prep work. And then we have in that campaign a follow-through team that will work over the next 3 years to collect funds for those capital campaigns. The majority of DCEF campaigns are 3-year pledge commitment times. So yes, you can collect money over a 3-year period. Now, if you want to do it short term, over 6 months, over a year, we do that also. We can do any sort of collection time, but we feel 3 years is an excellent time because one, you never know who's going to join the church in a couple of years, right? So if you collect it really quickly and then it disappears, then all the other new people who are now benefiting from your pivot in ministry miss out on the beauty of sort of partnering with that work. So 3 years, a lot of fundraisers find is that sweet spot for capital campaigns. But again, 4 weeks of campaigns, 4 weeks of prep work before that.
Okay, got it. Well, that's all we have time for today, but please know that you can always reach out to your regional advisor on our website if you have further questions or want to meet in person or online. Again, if you go to our website at the top, there'll be an About tab. You click on that, scroll down, meet our team, and then a new tab will pop up with all of our contact information on that. Um, so, Richard, last words?
Last words. One, God is able. Two, anything can be accomplished when people are on one accord and they want to do great things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Well, that's a word right there. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us. We're so happy that that you're here, and we can't wait to see you all again. Thanks, Richard, for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Nadine. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
God bless you.
Bye.